Space is ultimately where humanity will find survival. We will be expanding into space, and eventually it will become second nature. That is the destiny that we're pursuing. We know how to get into orbit. We sort of know how to go to the moon. Going to Mars is a whole nother story. And it has taken me 40 years of my life to build an engine that can do this. Ever since I was very little, I loved space, and I wanted to be an astronaut. As children in Costa Rica, we would configure our own spaceship out of cardboard boxes, and inside we put the chairs laying on their back, and we would sit or lay down, and we would count down to liftoff, and we would go into space and explore distant worlds and fight a few monsters here and there, and always be back in time for dinner. Gradually, as time passed, I forged a game plan to become a space explorer and a scientist. Around 1967, I was 17 years old, and I wrote a letter to NASA. And it was to my surprise that I got a response. There was an underlined sentence in one of the paragraphs that said, "Careers with NASA are generally limited to US citizens." I interpreted that as saying, hey, come on over to the US, become a US citizen, and then come to work for NASA. I didn't need any more encouragement. I went right ahead and emigrated to the United States. There were some very difficult moments when I first arrived in the US. I was 18 years old, and I came here with only $50, and I didn't speak English, and I had to go back to high school. And, I was really failing all of my subjects. But from the bottom, you cannot go any further down. So I began to improve, and over the months, I was very close to the top of the class. That was what I needed to get in at the University of Connecticut. I entered there in 1969, and that was the year that Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. When I saw that, to me, there was something very personal about it. I felt that I was just a little bit closer. So I went to graduate school at MIT, and it was there where I began thinking that typical chemical rockets were going to be very limiting in the future, and that we needed to take a paradigm shift to be able to truly explore space. In 1977, I became a citizen, and I finally applied to NASA, and that day my life changed completely. It was not until May of 1980 that I received a call saying, "We would like you to join us in the 9th group of astronauts." The first thing I did is I called my parents in Costa Rica. My father began to cry. He handed the phone to my mother, who went into orbit.
Our Dr. Spock and science representative, Franklin Chang Díaz.
I had become the first naturalized citizen from Latin America who would become an astronaut. On my first flight, we were laying on our backs, going through the countdown, and I thought to myself, I've done this before. I did it when I was a little kid in that cardboard box, and those images came back to me in that very moment. I flew in space not one, but 7 times. Way, way more than I ever imagined. While I was training as an astronaut, I really felt that I had 2 jobs. One was to be an astronaut, but the other one was to work on solving the transportation problem. When you look at the present day rockets, it's going to take you close to 7 to 8 months to get to Mars. And then you're going to have to wait almost 2 years until the lining up of the planets happens again and you can try to jump back. This is not a fast, efficient transportation system. And space can be a harrowing, horrible place when things don't work. With a plasma rocket, you can go to Mars in just over a month. It's something that allows you to go there quickly, do your exploration, and then come back before Mars and the Earth get out of range. I don't see how we could get anywhere in space without the plasma rocket that we are developing. People think that this is impossible, but it's not. It is difficult. It's not impossible. Our engine is called the Vasimer engine, and the name Vasimer stands for Variable Specific Impulse Magnetoplasma Rocket. Many people, when they come to our lab, expect to see a rocket firing. They expect lots of rumbling, lots of noise, and it's none of that. It's silent. There are no moving parts, no explosion. It is an eerie sensation to see this plasma coming out of this magnetic nozzle. This is almost like science fiction. What you do here is just the noise of all the pumps that are trying to keep the vacuum conditions so the rocket can live and can fire. This big tank is nothing but a way for us to create the conditions of space. When we fire this rocket in space for real, we probably will be able to see it from the Earth. We will be able to light up part of the sky. We will create what was called an artificial aurora. This is the transportation of the future. I guess in many ways I never grew up, and I'm still a child. And I feel that I come to work to play. My fundamental dream now is to enable humanity to truly be a multi-planet species. It's like going from the steam engine to the automobile, to the internal combustion engine. For me, watching the plasma engine fly would be the fulfillment of another lifelong dream.